Navi! 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 Can you hear me? Are you looking at that garbage skip again? Yes, you were. Stop looking at the garbage skip and do what I told you. Look for Connor Dunseith. He needs to talk about gaming. I want to do some gaming! Hello, thank you for watching my video. My name is Connor Dunseith and I have many hobbies. Some of them include running, playing with my dog, dancing, but of course my main one would be gaming. See, I love gaming. I've loved it since I was a kid and I always play games here, there, everywhere, whenever I'm stressed, whenever I'm bored. However, sometimes I wonder, is there more to gaming than just a stress relief? Well, yes there is, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Throughout my time of gaming, I've tended to do some research on different types of gamers. I've researched about 10, but I'm just going to talk about 3. Casual gamers, which are, you know, the normal gamers that just play games for just fun or any old game they'll play. Professional gamers, which would be gamers that would play mostly multiplayer games to earn money. And then retro gamers, who only play the old classics to get a bit of nostalgia. So, sit back, relax, and we're going to see some people and explain this in way more detail. Interviewee number 1 is one Kane Hanna. He's going to talk about casual gaming. Now before we see him, I want to explain casual gaming. Even though I kind of already have. It's common sense. It's just a normal gaming. You just want to have a good old play session, whatever you crazy kids call it these days. You just want to play a game just for fun. That's enough out of me. Let's go to Kane. Hi, thanks for letting me interview you today about different types of gamers. This very nice house you got here.
Thank you very much.
So I understand that you're a casual gamer, which means that you aren't too obsessed, but you do love games as like a good hobby whenever you're bored. Would that be right? Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So, Kane, would you have a favourite video game that you're playing at the moment? Like one that would be more recurring than the others?
A video game that comes up to mind would be probably GTA. I played a lot. It's a very good online game, so I play with all my friends. It is probably one of my favourite games. I've had it for years, played it a lot of times. just really great aspects to it, especially the strip club.
I was gonna say, yeah.
No, but it's just really fun. You can do so many things. You can do racing, you can do a bank heist, or not bank heist, but you can do other heists. But yeah, it's creepy. Would I say I'm good? I would probably say I'm the best video game player in the world.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm better than like Ninja at Fortnite. I'm better than Stampy at Minecraft.
I hope you know that I'm currently showing footage of you getting beat up by robots in Rocket League right now, but...
Yeah, no, I'm not good at video games. I play it just for fun. I play it with my friends. There would have been a time where I would have been better at games, especially like Call of Duty and all that, but no, I'm not very good.
So, Kane, as you know, I've also interviewed 2 other people, one for professional gaming and one for retro gaming. What do you think of like different types of gamings that you don't do? So like people that would do it for money, or people that aren't even doing it for fun, they're just doing it for a little blast of the past.
I think it's really interesting. I watched tons of videos on it. People who do it for money, people who just do it for blast of the past. I wouldn't do it personally because I just do video games because I want to enjoy it and I want to enjoy my time. But if I was able to make money from it, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I noticed as here you've been playing on a PS4, which, you know, since you're a casual gamer, it's still good for fun. But eventually, would you expand it by buying a PS5 in the future, the latest software, or?
Yeah, I might buy a PS5, but I was looking into the new Xbox. I used to love Halo, used to play Halo all the time, so I think I might switch to Xbox, but I also have a gaming PC, which I don't really use, but once I get more room, I'll probably switch to it and not really be playing the PS4 as much.
Yeah, no, I see. PC gaming.
Yes.
Well, I'm away now, because bye. So, you got a lot of information from Kane, huh? Well, you could listen to that doofus. Or you could try and understand what I'm trying to talk about. You see, casual gaming is good and all, but there's more to gaming than just that. Gaming, there's multiple reasons to do it. And as well as the casual gaming that I've just shown you and what Kane has talked about, I want you to learn about stuff like professional gaming and retro gaming, as they can be just as important, if not even more, to the gaming community. And if you just like to spare a few minutes, 20, of your life, I would like you to be able to learn about more types of gaming and just exactly why it's not just a hobby for some people. It's just a hobby for me, but for others, it's a lot more than that. So, time to talk about professional gaming in that context, because professional gaming, it's a job for people. People play online games, they get really good at it. Sometimes they play on YouTube for money, they enter tournaments. Some people would play multiplayer games in order to level up other players. They'd log into their accounts and level them up, and the people whose accounts that they've used, they will pay them to level up their characters. I know it's a bit lazy for the people paying the person, but for the person doing it, that's a really good opportunity to make some money, because, you know, money's good. So, let's go and see Joe McGarvey to talk about professional gaming. Alright Joe, thanks for meeting with me today. You've got a lovely house.
Thank you.
I understand you're a professional gamer, and I'd just like to talk about that for a bit. Thank you for bringing your dog as well. I'm sure she's having a good time here. So, Joe, when you started gaming, did you start off doing it for fun, or had you always just been good at it and decided to do it professionally?
I've been playing games most of my life, not all of it. Most of it's always been for fun, and even now I mainly play for fun. But over all the time playing, I have picked up some skill and up to date a small amount of money.
Yeah, no, I can see that. You have to start somewhere. So, Sun God Joe here. Yep, that's right. The light in his face is intentional. I'm going to ask, since you play multiplayer games as your professional, would you still be playing single player games now and again?
Oh yes, I do play tons of single player games as well as multiplayer. Multiplayer games have always been my favourite, because you get to interact with the community of the game. Rather if that's fun or toxic, it depends on the community and the game you're playing. But I still play single player games and enjoy them a lot.
Yeah, no, I could understand that. So like, even though you're a professional, you'd still, dabble with just playing games because you're bored or something.
Yes, gaming is still my main hobby as well as what I do want to make a living on professional.
So Joe, with professional gaming then, how much money would you make, say, a week?
Well, a week I wouldn't really make anything, but I make money through tournaments online and stuff, and through the actual online multiplayer games. Every now and then tournaments will be held. I'm not a big time professional gamer, I'm more of a small time, so I wouldn't be making that much, but I make £5, £10 up to £20 to £50 through individual tournaments. All ranking up, I've made about £300 in total. I've only really started a couple of years back playing the tournaments and actually going for money, not just playing them to test my skill.
Yes, no, fair enough. As you can see, fair enough. So, Joe, whenever you're doing gaming, what console would you do it the best? Because as I've seen here, you have a PS5 and an Xbox One, but you also have, behind you there, you have computers. So, whenever you're gaming, would you be focusing on console gaming or PC gaming?
Whenever I play games, I'd mostly be on console. I'd say I'd be playing on my Xbox more as I've built more friends on the Xbox Live than I have for the PS Network. But I still play on PlayStation for certain games like Call of Duty, Warfare, or Warzone, sorry. But the Xbox is probably the console I main the most, and I'd like to try to focus on console games rather than PC, as I find myself being better with a controller than a keyboard, and the controller doesn't match up to the keyboard as much.
Yeah, I could see why. Thank you so much, Headless Joe. I'd just like to ask one more question, and it's a really important one. When you are professional gaming, does your dog help you?
She's a better gamer than I am.
Oh, she's amazing, is she?
Yeah, she's always winning first place or second place.
Oh, brilliant. Alright, bye. Oh, I'm so glad we got good tips from Joe's dog about how to do professional gaming. However, if you want to learn about, I don't know, stuff that's not too serious, but not too casual, let's talk retro gaming. Now, I'm not talking about your PlayStations or your Xboxes. No, I'm talking about the NES, SNES, N64, PlayStation 1, Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn. It can go on. Stuff from the 90s, the 80s, the beginning. You see, a lot of those games have actually aged pretty well. And there are people that would still just play those types of games. And I'm going to introduce you to Raw Stuff, or Retro Gamer. And so maybe you can learn some more about exactly the origins, well, not exactly the origins of gaming, but people that like to live in the origins of gaming. Let's go. So Ross, I would like to talk to you today about retro games and what your opinion on them is, as, well, you have quite a lot of them, as we've shared, so...
Well, I do enjoy retro consoles. I think that they're classics, like Mario, the first Mario game, or Metroid, or Zelda, all games which have shaped the way games work now.
Definitely.
All these games are being recreated for a reason. They're classics, people love them, people love the franchises, and I think it's important to know where those franchises came from, games that we play now maybe.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be old games anyway, like even the GameCube from 2002, or
That would be retro.
the PS2, it doesn't need to just be retro. It can be from even, like, it won't be long until the PS3 is a retro console, or even the PS5 from 20 years time.
Yeah, I would see where you're coming from, and right now you just you prefer games from the past because of how they're evolving in the future. Would that be?
I think so. I think that's an important way to say it, and it's the way that obviously they've influenced a lot of games in the future, but it's important to play those games in the past and know where all that comes from. And
Yeah, no, I get your point. Well, I'll move on to the next question. Well, yeah, you made some really good points there, Ross. And the thing is about the retro consoles is that it doesn't necessarily have to be the oldest thing. It can be just things from the 90s or the 80s. So I understand that you really like the retro Nintendo consoles. So out of the three that is shown here to everyone, the NES, the SNES, the N64, which one would be your personal favourite?
it's a difficult question, to be honest with you, Connor. I mean, I love all of them in their own separate ways for each reason. For the NES, maybe it's not as advanced as the N64, but it definitely has going for it what it can do right. The colours, the pixels, the simplistic design of it, whereas the SNES combines both of the two of 3D and 2D worlds. The graphics aren't as bad as the 1980s, but they're not as good as the current day modern technology. But in that middle, that's where the art is. That's where the art of pixels and games and 3D designs made through shapes and colours.
I see, that's actually really interesting. So basically, you can't really decide.
You can't get it down.
You can't get it down because
I love them for different ways.
How different they are
Yeah.
to each other. They're all retro, but
They're
all different as well.
classics in their own
Yeah.
way.
No, that's really interesting.
So Ross,
I've
there
actually
is
got
an
more
important retro
information
game
on
that
I'd like to talk about.
That's great.
No, I could go for the obvious, like the first game, which is Pong, or any old arcade games like Pac-Man. No, I want to go to the SNES and talk about Star Fox and how it redefined gaming in a way.
Star Fox is an interesting case. It was the first 3D game by Nintendo on the SNES. It combined 2D graphics with the first actual 3D polygon shapes. They created this with the chip designed where it could create complex 3D shapes on a 2D setting, allowing them to make interesting space battles, stuff like that on the SNES. And I think what's so interesting about that game is how far they were able to push the hardware of the SNES and able to make 3D settings on a 2D, console. And it was that push, that true push by, people who were innovators at the time, pushing games as far as the limits could go. And I think that's why I love retro games in a sense as well, because
Yeah.
they pushed hardware so far in such little time. I mean, you see it, you're talking about 1985, the first Nintendo's come out, SNES. 5 years later, they're able to make 3D games on a 2D setting, and then even 3-4 years after that, the N64 comes out with complex 3D rendering.
I could see why that would be quite a big deal, especially for back then. Whenever, like nowadays, 3D for people it's not a big deal, but back then that was revolutionary, and it was at a time before Nintendo even made the massive jump to 3D with the Nintendo 64. So Ross, how did you become to be a retro gamer? Like, did it just were you always when you were young like this, or did you just decide recently that you really like video games, especially the old ones?
That's an interesting question, Connor. It does come from part of my past and part of I do enjoy games now, and I thought, why not start collecting them, because, you know, I'd like to have a collection of those consoles that were so special to so many people. But it also comes from whenever I was a child and I would see these games. My dad, you know, had the consoles from the 90s, and I saw these games being played and I wanted to play them myself, and they were simplistic enough for children to play. And you know, that part of that childhood, my memories from then, is what made me want to start collecting the consoles, because yes, they're special to so many people, but they're also special to me.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And thank you so much for explaining all that. I do have, however, one more question. I'd like to ask, do you have a favourite video game retro-wise? And this doesn't even have to be any of the retro consoles that you showed off. This could be the PlayStation, the Sega, anything.
Out of my current collection, my favourite would have to be Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. It's that 16-bit era with the classic Mario feeling, and for me, it's just a classic game that just is so colourful and bright and just playful.
I do agree. As the fourth Mario game ever, it is definitely a really good sequel to all three that was there before it. Thank you so much, Ross, for answering my questions and explaining to everyone around what retro gaming is. And that is a big help in what I want to achieve by letting people know that games isn't just something for having a casual time, having a hobby time. It's so much more than that. Well, I'm going to play some Donkey Kong.
Oh, these are pretty cool bananas.